I'm happy. I'm good.
Being held hostage from your stadium?
That part of it's not going great. Let me put it this way: we've always root for the M's, but we're rooting for them even harder tonight. It's the last game. That's all I know. And,
You're really rooting for them last night, then.
You know, what a great thing. What a great summer they've had. And unfortunately, it's put a little hiccup in us having our locker room and our facility back. But they've become good friends, and the players kind of caught me tongue-in-cheek saying we're rooting for the M's last night so that we could have our field today. And then they reminded me Graybeck's on the other team, so I had to apologize to Graybeck. So I've already done that a couple of times.
What do you guys try to accomplish during fall ball?
Well, we've got a lot of newness to this, not only the team, but the coaching staff. You know, with big turnover. Let's start with Luke Emanuel, my director, who the program's going to miss. He did a tremendous job here in the first 9 years. And Brad Tirada, my equipment guy, and what a great equipment guy he was. And so administratively, that puts a little more pressure on me and the staff that's left over. And then, of course, with Coach Wazikowski and his brilliance and Coach Martyr, replacing them is going to be difficult. So we got a lot of newness. But then on the good side, we've hired a Jason Dietrich to manage the pitchers. And, of course, his credentials are tremendous. I have a background with him, certainly from Cal State Fullerton, and seen his work from afar. And so he'll add his own personality to our staff. And then Coach Carricker's moved from being the pitching guy to the catching guy in a support role. And then our bullpen coach, Dalton Hanks, has moved from being a manager into a student assistant. And we have Madison Bohr back as an undergraduate assistant. So the personality of the coaching staff will be different. And does that make it better or worse? Time will tell. But the chemistry of that and the diversity of that and how that comes across to the players will be different. And then we've got 39 young men that are vying for 35 spots, and 20 of those guys are new. So what are we trying to accomplish? Get to know the program, get to know each other, get a little team chemistry, hopefully team building. I think it's unfair to do any kind of expectations or evaluations at this point. But we do have a good nucleus of leaders and talent back. So hopefully we can blend the new with the old and be successful.
Talking with some of those returners, though, they said they really want to get that taste out of their mouth from last season. How do you hope that they respond in fall then heading into season?
Well, so far we've had a day and a half of practice, and they've been spot on. That's how you get the taste out of your mouth. Instead of talking about it, do it. Put those foundation blocks in and take what each and every year, there's 30 teams around the nation that are starting baseball, not necessarily yesterday, but sometime soon, and probably 25% of those teams have legitimate opportunity to call themselves champions, and all but one's really trying to eliminate the taste in their mouth, really. And Coastal Carolina, what a great story that was last year, and I'm sure none of the pundits picked them, or very few that even themselves. They've been knocking on the door for years, and what a great story that was. And then, of course, a new coach at Arizona from our conference, and the West being misrepresented a little bit by not having a regional. And what Coach Johnson did at Arizona was great for the West Coast and great for our conference. And so we want to be one of those. And I think in athletics, one of the real glories is to bounce back. We had a crummy year last year, so hopefully that taste, as you alluded to, will stay with me, the coaches that are returning and the players that are returning. And when they get up in the morning, they'll command each day and work as hard as they can each day and turn that around.
You don't want to make any evaluations today. I think it was this time last year you thought you were going to have potentially the best pitching staff, at least starting-wise, you ever had. It didn't really turn out that way. Any declarations for us today of what you think you're going to get out of this?
Is Cole Irvin here? No, I'm going to go undeclaration year. I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you we'd be good, and this is really exciting. For me as a baseball coach, this is the best time of the year. We get to go twice a day, so we get unlimited hours until school starts and get to know the guys and the freshness of that and how exciting it is, and establishing the personality of the team. And certainly there's expectations. We think we had a great recruiting class. We only had one kid signed, Brady Whalen. So Coach Waz and Coach Ullman worked hard to get those guys here on campus. So I'd be lying to you if if I said to you that I didn't think that class was going to be very good. But I think short of saying we'll have the best staff in the nation, we've learned our lesson the hard way, and I hold myself accountable for that because I was working with the pitchers. And if those guys didn't reach their potential, that certainly starts with the head coach.
What was the idea with bringing in Dietrich and going with kind of a full-time pitching coach to switch it around that way?
Well, I've always thought with Waz and Ullman and Martyr and Stiles and that makeup of the staff, I thought I was better suited to work on the pitching side. When we lost Coach Checketts, I went to that, and now with that opening, I've always thought that I'm probably better at running the offense. So I had a chance to decide that we're going to bring another position player guy in or a pitching guy in, and it was very obvious to me if we had the opportunity to get Coach Dietrich to come up here, that's the guy I wanted. I wanted a pitching guy. I wanted to go to the other side of the ball. And Coach Ullman and I and Carricker will coach the hitters and run the offense. And so it's probably my favorite side of the ball, to be that offensive guy. I'm a little more offensive minded, and it wasn't that I disliked working with the pitchers. I just had decided to bring a pitching guy in.
So he'll call the pitchers.
They'll call the pitchers.
And then you in game now, will you do some of what Waz was doing in terms of kind of running the offense?
I'll run the offense, yeah.
With Ullman and with...
Yeah. Ullman will coach third still, and Coach Carrick will coach first, and I'll run the offense from the dugout like Waz did.
Peterson was saying that Coach Dietrich, even just from a short talk with him, you could find out just like this guy was about even the small details, like just relearning how to play catch with each other and doing that properly. Is that kind of some of the background that he brings in, just focusing on, what was it about him that?
Well, you just look at his success in the last 2 years at Fullerton, which isn't necessarily a pitcher's ballpark. We led the country in 2006 when I was calling pitches in ERA. 2 years ago, he led the country in fewest walks with Eshelman and Garza in that group, and that's a good starting point, and a low ERA. And last year, by a wide margin, they had the nation's best ERA in a program that they play some very good competition. It's not a mid-major conference, and they play some great outside competition. So, and then his work at Irvine previous to going to Fullerton. I don't know all the methods he does it. I know Cal State Fullerton, and I know Jason Dietrich, and I know Ted Silva, who was on my USA staff this summer, and I coached Ted Silva at Fullerton, and he was part of my staff in 2006. So there's a little bit of a family and a philosophy that probably a lot of stuff, without me even knowing it, Jason's probably using some stuff that I taught Ted Silva, and he probably threw a lot of it away, quite frankly, because it wasn't any good. So I think even though he didn't play for me, I think some of his philosophical approaches will be similar to what I think is very fundamental and detailed and those type of things. And I like his personality. I think he's one of the fine young coaches in the country. I think he's on a short list of one of the best pitching coaches in the country. Whether his resume says that or not, you can just look at what he's done. And he's just another guy. It's not because of his ego, and he's not going to come in here and tell you guys he's the best in the country. He just goes out and does it. And I think because I do have a lot of familiarity with the coaches he's coached with and the players he's coached, to a man, they love competing with him, and they love his program. So I think he's going to be a great addition to our program.
What did you see from Petey over the summer with that USA team, and he come in as your likely, I assume, Friday starter?
Well, yeah, on paper. Now we got expectations again, and I don't want to do that to Petey, but yeah, we hope he continues to get better. I think he learned some things from Coach Silva and Coach Snow this summer. He had a great summer, like the whole team did, and I hope what he told you when he talked to you, that it's his opportunity in his third year to take some more guys under his wing and show them the way, and not only with what he says, but what he does. And yeah, we hope he finally, if there was anything about David Peterson in the last 2 years, he's shown flashes of brilliance, but he's also shown flashes of hurting himself by walking guys or hitting guys or creating his own problems, free bases. And hopefully he can eliminate some of that and be the All-American that I think he's capable of becoming. And yeah, I think if you had to predict who would be our Friday guy, him or Mercer, they were both in the weekend rotation as we ended, would be the most logical. But we've got some good young arms coming in that we think are going to compete for that Friday spot and for the weekend spots. And we've got Brack Warren that's thrown a lot of quality innings in relief that might be our closer, and got a senior, Cooper Stiles, that's thrown a lot successfully in the bullpen. So with Cooper and Warren, we've got some experience in the bullpen as well to start with.
Brack definitely in the bullpen?
Well, probably. Yeah, we think that's probably his style of pitching is probably better conducive to the bullpen. But, what we do is we evaluate the whole staff and, okay, who are the top guys and, how it's going to complement one another. And most likely, I would say Cooper and Brack will end up being in the bullpen.
Out of the freshmen, is there one who's more likely to be a starter than the other? I know they all kind of. Is there one that you look at that, hey, if this guy's competing for a rotation spot, this would be our guy?
Yeah, Steve, I think we've got some guys penciled in, just from credentials and scholarship level and past history, and we've got some really talented kids. But I think it'd be unfair to all of them if I started predicting that. That's going to be up to them. And we think the depth of the pitching staff might be better than last year. It'll be young and a big turnover, but we certainly have some really diamonds in the rough, so to speak, for Coach Dietrich to work with, and we're excited about that.
Offensively, feel like you've got a lot of guys that have played a little bit that can fill some holes?
Yeah. Probably the thing that nobody's asked me yet is Travis Munoz left.
Saw that.
Okay, so he didn't have a big offensive year. And it is what it is. That's probably the last thing I'll say about Travis. But that hurt a little bit because of the experience factor, and he played every day at shortstop. And so, we got a couple guys like Kenyon Yovan, certainly won an 6A Player of the Year and 2-way player, and he's got a chance to help us with the bat. Spencer Steer, third baseman from Long Beach Milliken, had a good summer in the WCL League, the Great West League, and probably had one of the better summers that we've had, even as an incoming freshman. So I don't know if we're going to have the big bopper. We're pretty. If you look at our position players, it's not like, holy cow, those are big kids. They're small by nature and all that. But guess what? We're not playing basketball, so you don't have to necessarily be 6'4" to be a good basketball player. A good baseball player.
Can Yovan play in the field and pitch, or do you want him to do one? Or are you spending fall trying to figure that out, or do you know what he'll do?
He's going to try to do both. Parker Kelly will try to do both. We have a kid Ryan Nelson from Vegas that has a chance to. You asked about starting pitchers. He's got a chance to really make a splash as a pitcher, but he's also a very good shortstop. So we'll look at him at both too. All three of those guys, we think their best value to us and the team is as a pitcher, but anytime you can have a two-way guy, it's a good thing.
So it'll be as a reliever for those guys?
Not necessarily. I think it kind of depends on what position they're playing. Yovan might end up being a first baseman, a corner infielder, and he maybe could start once a week. And I coached Brendan McKay, the John Olerud winner of the last 2 years on Team USA, and he was a first baseman and a starter. So I think you can do both.
Kelly, an outfielder, catcher?
First baseman, pitcher. We won't use him as a catcher, but down the road, his brother's catching the big leagues now. And he was a Duck commit. We're happy for Carson and the Kelly family. And Parker has that same skill set his brother has. Somebody might, whether we do it or Pro Ball doesn't, he might be a catcher someday if he's not a pitcher.
What about the center field replacing Grayback?
That's going to be the problem. We don't have a bona fide center fielder. It surprised us a little bit that Grayback chose to sign. We thought we'd have him one more year. We got caught a little flat-footed, although in equivalency sports, the money doesn't, it's not like we're sitting there with a scholarship looking for a center fielder. We were out of money and hadn't accomplished that goal. But we have guys that are athletic enough, infielders, that if they don't win the starting job as infielders, might end up vying for the center field position, i.e. Morgan McCullough, who now, with Travis Gahn's probably got a better chance to be the shortstop than he did, even though he had a chance anyway. And so we might have to move somebody around. Goldfarb, on paper, probably the most logical guy to play center field. A returning guy would be Goldfarb.
Thanks, George.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
Thanks, George.
Exciting time of the year.